Hello, and welcome to this webinar from Peregrine Global Services. Today, we will be discussing options for developing competencies using engaging online instructional content. My name is Christina Perry, Director for Organizational Learning at Peregrine, and I will be covering the first part of the webinar, talking about learning goals and career readiness competencies. I'm joined by my colleague, Desiree Moore.
Hello, I am Desiree. Nice to meet you. I'm the Director of Marketing and Strategic Growth here at Peregrine Global Services. I've worked in higher education for about 8 years as an administrator and faculty member, so you'll get to hear a lot of my just personal connection to the solutions we provide throughout this webinar, and I'll be giving you a live demo of some of our modules, including our simulation one day.
Thank you, Desiree. We're also joined by Cassie Rice in our client engagement team. Cassie is going to be monitoring. If you have any questions, you want to type those in the chat bar. If you have, or there's a question box in a chat bar, just type those in, and we will have a section for questions near the end. We will also be offering you near the end. There will be a poll question to respond to if you'd like access to any of these modules, and then we've uploaded a handout of the brochure if you just want a quick overview. So what is leading edge learning? Leading edge learning is Peregrine's answer to college's need for instructional content that fosters development of career competencies. In the past year, we've seen demand explode for quality online educational content. Although many programs were already being delivered online, many more had to respond quickly to accommodate remote learners as they adjusted to the pandemic. And they quickly learned that online lectures and reading assignments, they just didn't engage learners in a virtual setting as they might have done in a traditional class. So Peregrine took advantage of this situation. We took the challenge and we responded by creating new content and resources to support online learning for key career skills. The National Association of Colleges and Employers, or NACE, has designated 8 career readiness competencies, or areas that allow college graduates to successfully transition to the professional world. The NACE 8 include critical thinking and problem solving, oral and written communication, teamwork and collaboration, digital technology, leadership, professionalism and work ethic, career management, and global and intercultural fluency. With these 8 competencies in mind, Peregrine has created a variety of online modules to support colleges in meeting learning goals. These categories make it a lot easier to match your learning goals to the appropriate content. So now let's take a look at a few learning goals that some of our client schools have shared with us, and then we can see how we can support that development of that learning goal with Peregrine's leading edge learning modules. So here we're looking at a learning goal for effective communication, which was defined by this school as the ability to exchange thoughts and ideas clearly and effectively in written, oral, and visual forms while demonstrating audience awareness. This goal lines up very neatly with the NACE competency for oral and written communication. And then Peregrine offers a variety of modules that address that competency. But here I wanted to highlight two, the Write and Cite academic writing module and the Speaking Pro public speaking module. Here's an example from the Write and Cite module, which some of you may be familiar with. As you know, learners must be able to write discussion board posts, short papers, reports, theses, and dissertations, and do so while incorporating others' knowledge through proper documentation. The Write and Cite module can be integrated into a course to make sure that your students think critically about their research and writing and that they demonstrate their understanding of documentation techniques and style considerations through built-in assessment. So this is a module that might teach APA format or MLA or Chicago style, depending on your preferred documentation style, but it also walks students through gathering credible information and citing it properly. Another resource that faculty can use to promote the learning goal of effective communication is the Speaking Pro module. These are lessons by Hollywood voice coach Roger Love, and they oblige students to warm up their vocal cords and practice speaking in different tones and speeds. It talks to them about moving on stage or addressing a camera, and it helps them overcome the fear of public speaking and really be able to connect with an audience. So you can see how that fits in very nicely with the learning goal. Here's another learning goal, this time on critical thinking and problem solving. The program here defines this as the ability to research and connect information from multiple credible sources and perspectives, and to critically evaluate and creatively solve problems or advance innovations. As you saw in the slide with the NACE competency, there is a NACE competency for critical thinking and problem solving. And Peregrine has created a variety of content. Here we're going to talk about the one-day interactive learning experience. One day is a simulation, and in it, students assume the role of a young airline employee, and they gather both qualitative and quantitative data from interviews, interactions with other people in the simulation, and reading industry reports, news articles, and gathering all that information to select correct learnings and apply those to a selected strategy. Once they've chosen a strategy, they have to be able to support their decision and present it to the CEO of the company. They have to use their time management skills, their critical thinking as they navigate multiple episodes. And it really does teach students that there's not just one correct answer as long as you can support your learnings with data. Moving on, I've chosen a learning goal of global and intercultural fluency. In this one, students will demonstrate awareness and respect for commonalities across and differences between identities, cultures, experiences, or global origins. The NACE competency that corresponds is the global intercultural fluency. And Peregrine has a number of different modules. Some of them are on emotional intelligence. Some of them would be on different aspects. But the one I wanted to focus on is diversity and culture in the global workplace. So in the diversity and culture module, this includes discussions of the values of diverse perspectives working together toward a common goal. And this type of module provides a nice frame of reference to guide discussion and challenge the status quo of thinking. I like to think of these types of modules as activities that you could build in to your course and use these that the student can do on their own at home, and then use those concepts as they explore discussions with their colleagues and peers. Finally, we have a learning goal on team participation and leadership. This goal intends for students to work effectively as a member of a group or team, contributing to team productivity and working cooperatively, and organizing and leading team-based activities when appropriate. NACE also agrees that teamwork and collaboration is an essential competency for career-ready graduates, and Peregrine offers a variety of modules to support teamwork and conflict management. For example, here we have a module called Leading Teams. And this is one that takes the student beyond mere participation in teams and asks them to assume a leadership role. This might be new, particularly for undergraduate students that might not have seen themselves in a leadership role yet. So it gives them that introduction that ties their schoolwork into what they might be doing in a career setting. And it includes identifying obstacles that hinder team performance and finding ways to unite and motivate others toward a collective achievement.
Thank you so much, Christina. I'm just going to take a moment and I am going to switch my screen so that I can share with you a live demonstration of what these modules we've been telling you all about look like. So just a moment. Okay, Christina, will you let me know if you can see my screen?
Yeah, it looks like we're in the learnperegrineglobal.com site.
Perfect. Okay, so I'm going to exit this module right here so that you can see what it looks like from this perspective. But here you'll see all of my modules that I currently have that I have enrolled in. And this is Leadership Foundations is the one we're looking at today. It starts with, just a brief explanation of what Leadership Foundations is, and then I can start the module. So once we're here, it always gives the students a module overview as well as references, and a syllabus. It also has module navigation to help the students navigate the module. And something I really like about this one in particular is throughout the entire module, it includes mentoring moments. And these are just moments from real leaders and memories they have, stories they tell that exemplify a certain leadership practice, which I think is really neat because it allows our learners to connect to something that is beyond theory, which is that human element. So I'm going to skip down here to Leadership Defined. What I think is really neat about these modules is the way information is laid out. It's broken out in a way that's easy for learners to consume. It's very interactive and dynamic. As you can see, you'll see text and photos sliding in and out as you scroll. Right here, I already did this, but I'm going to replay it. I have a activity, so leadership versus management differences. We know that there is a difference between leadership and management. And so if I wanted to, the learners would go ahead and participate in this activity. So Christina, let's do this one together. So address this change. Is that leadership or management, do you think?
I think that's more ideological. I'd go leadership.
Okay. Articulating and compelling vision. I think that's pretty important to leadership. Organizing people and equipment.
That's more processes. That's management.
And I would agree for efficiencies as well. And look, you said processes in there.
Yeah.
Budgets. Payrolls. Wow, management's getting
Our
all
managers
the cards.
are busy. Yeah.
Inspiring performance. Mentoring. Motivating. And you know what's interesting is that you look at management, it's very technical in nature, and then leadership is very what they call soft skills. Some call it professional skills because they're some of the hardest skills to learn, so they're not so soft. But I think that difference there is interesting. So there's activities throughout to help reinforce concepts just like that one. And look, I just talked about soft skills, and here's a section on it, which I think is really neat. So I'm going to go ahead and go down to this next section being a role model. I told you about those mentoring moments that you'll see throughout, and I just wanted to share one with you. So here's one mentoring moment, and this is Rod Warren, and he tells a story, right? He tells a story about a leadership choice that he made and what led him to make that decision. And so you'll see a number of these throughout the entire module, and I think they're very neat. Let's go ahead and go down to values of leaders. And each section has an introduction, right? So each section has an introduction. The modules do break out information in really easy to consume ways. So here we have the essential core leadership values. Well, the values within leadership have quite a bit of information, right? So it's not just knowing that it's integrity, honesty, loyalty, and so on. It's really understanding what is integrity and how does that relate to leadership. So our modules do break this up in a way that is really just easy to consume. Something I also like, I'm going to skip up to the section review, is every section of the modules does have a section review, again, to help reinforce concepts. Self-testing has been proven to be a very effective way to help students retain knowledge. So I'm going to go ahead and start the quiz here. There's only 5 questions in these section reviews, so they're quite short. So the 8 universal laws of leadership are helpful to understand what type of leadership. I'm going to select values-based. And I got it right. It tells me right away, helping me reinforce that concept. The following statements about stress are true, except employees are stressed out, you must fire them. I hope not.
Get a little more stress. Yeah.
I know. Stress is the way most of us respond to events that make us feel threatened. Oh, that might be it. Oh, got it incorrect. Oh, except.
Right. It's the firearm one.
I am so bad at those questions, but you know what? I saw that it was except, and then now I realize why. Select the definition that best describes management. Well, based on our sorting activity, I'm fairly certain it's this one.
And that is nice, Desiree. We do get this retrieval practice. And then if, this isn't something that students are graded on, but they can, go back and learn those concepts again before they proceed.
Absolutely. There's no one size fits all solution to the question regarding the definition of leadership. I would say that's true. And the last one is leadership is the art of leading others to create a result that would have happened anyway. False? What do you think, Christina?
Yeah, that's false.
Okay, thank you. All right, So we're almost done with this module, sharing it with you. But there are also throughout our modules, there's a lot of multimedia content. So I've shown you the activities, the section reviews. I've shown you the dynamic content of how images and text will kind of come in and out. Sometimes there's flip cards, things like that. There's also a lot of video. There are several videos throughout this module. So there's videos embedded that just help reinforce concepts and really adhere to universal design, because we need to provide information in a variety of different formats to our learners to make learning accessible and then also engaging. Also, there are audio clips through many of our modules. So if students are really good auditory learners, they can learn that way. And I think I'm done with this. Is there anything you want to point out about these modules and just the interactive nature of them, Christina, before I move on to one day?
No, I mean, I just find these so much more engaging than your typical e-text. That might be a resource for the classes. This is something that really makes students get involved. They can't just passively read through. They have to do some activities and reflect. So yeah, that's all I wanted to add.
Perfect. Thank you. Okay, so now I'm going to share with you one day, and one day is our strategy simulation. We had to, I'll tell you a story really quick. So we had a challenge at the end of 2020 where most of our team had to play one day and we were competing against each other. And the competition was based on a variety of factors, our assessment scores, and you can see mine here, whether we completed it, things of that nature, or how far we completed it. And it was a lot of fun. And at first I thought, oh, well, it's strategy. I'm our director of marketing. My job is very much based on strategy. So I should be able to just, you know, just slide through. It should be so easy. And that was not that was not the case, because the thing is that you can't just click through this. You can't click through the simulation and get to the end and be like, I'm done, I completed it. It is really meant to be iterative. And if you don't pay attention and you don't interact with people and you don't read the reports and you don't read all of the associated readings and articles, then you can find yourself in a spot, have spent maybe an hour clicking through and going, and then it telling you, well, you're probably going to have to replay this episode. So you just wasted time because you weren't paying attention. So it's one of those things that forces students to engage, which I think is really cool. And as somebody who feels like I know strategy, I learned a lot in the simulation, which was really nice. And it helped me reframe a couple of concepts that I didn't have well framed before or weren't completely rounded out, which I really liked. So here I'm skipping to another, because it takes just a moment to load, but I'm skipping to another tab, and I am going to continue this episode. I clicked episode 3, and so
Actually,
there
that one's
are,
at 6.
oh, was it 6?
Yeah.
Oh,
That's okay. It's good.
it's good. So I'll talk you through what's going on here. So, well, actually, I really want to play episode 3. So let's see if I can get there. Also, what's really great about one day is that it builds communication skills, even though it's an individualized simulation. So this simulation is played by an individual alone. It's not in a team environment. Groups of students don't have to be online at the same time, which I think is really neat. And of course, students like to talk about their experience with the simulation outside of it. And so that's a really great opportunity to have students chat about it more within a group discussion or anything else, especially if you're teaching online. But they're not dependent on each other. But even though they're not dependent on each other, and it's not.
Yeah,
Oh,
continues.
it's.
Oh, yeah.
There I go. That's the
Okay.
problem. It's because it's trying to put me where I left off in the
Oh
simulation,
yeah.
where I
It's
stopped.
it's interesting that you mentioned that, because you can play this on your own. If you find yourself really competitive, you find yourself wanting to go back and spend more time and try it again and get a better score and talk to different people. It really makes you challenge your assumptions and see, what I was thinking right, because I've just learned something different from talking to our customers, or I've learned something different from our financial reports. So I got competitive with it, Desiree.
I did too. And it was interesting because as you're doing the strategy, at first I thought, oh, this airline, which follows Emma, a young employee of an airline, through the game as she gathers clues to present a strategy to the CEO. And she is, what I like about her being a young employee is it's a lot of times simulations are like, okay, you're a CEO, but most students are not already in that position, right? Most of them are going to be, entry level or, mid-level employees during their career. So, or at that point in their career when they're going to school. And so this relates, I think, much better to our students. But I would be thinking to myself as I was gathering clues, oh, well, this airline really needs to focus on providing services in a family-friendly manner, right? And then I would go, no, they need to cater to middle management. And I'd go, no, they need to work on operations. And I kept second guessing myself, but it was all those parts and pieces that came together to finally bring me to my final strategy. Was that your experience, Christina?
Yeah, absolutely. It's not always your first thought that is the main one.
So you'll see this here. So right now, Emma, who is sitting on a plane, she's flying from one part of the country to the other, to the headquarters for this airline. As you can see here, there is a timer. This is time. She only has a certain amount of time to do everything she needs to do. So here she can read these magazines, which give her information. So what can NSA, that's the airline, do better? And read that and use that as information. And then it says, oh, what did you learn from this? And you have to select what you learned from it. And I'm going to get a bad score because I'm not reading it fully. There's also the Daily Globe where I can learn stuff. I can have a conversation with a flight attendant. So I'm going to go ahead and have a conversation with this flight attendant. So she says, after that delay, I'm supposed to start the conversation. So maybe I could say, you seem to know all the flight attendants. Do you fly regularly? Sometimes, which is how I know a lot of flight attendants. I work for Cushy and live in San Francisco, but Cushy's another airline, one of their competitors. But the routes I work sometimes start in Los Angeles. This airline has a better connection for me. And so then you ask, I'm curious, why not this? And I'm just going to click through, but she's going to keep asking, she's going to keep giving you information, and you're going to keep having questions or statements that you can respond with, a selection of them. And you're actually assessed on all of those conversations you're having. And so I'm probably giving myself a bad score. And then what did I learn? And the game's going to say, you didn't learn that.
Go to the phone too, Desiree. Yeah, that one's pretty neat.
Yes. So, oh, hold on, just popped up. I'm going to scroll through this conversation really quick, say what I learned, and then I'll show you the phone. And I got her business card, so you can collect business cards. So this is the phone. So you'll see messages here. What's happening here is she's talking to Baxter, who is the CEO, Professor Jonathan, which is her strategy instructor, and then Shu Lin, which is a friend of hers. So actually throughout the entire simulation, she is trying to focus on some personal issues she's having, along with trying to figure out the strategy for this airline. Right here are the learnings. So these are all of the things I've said I have learned, which I can use later to help me develop my strategy. The contacts, and I'll gather these as I gather business cards, and there's a spot in the game where I can actually reach out to these people to ask more questions down the road.
The reports are really good too.
Yes, the reports. Oh, no, you're fine. The inbox is a lot like the messages. And so I'll receive communication from professor or the CEO or the professor. There are article links. And I don't have any right here right now, but when these article links come in, I read the article, and then there's a small assessment on each of the articles. And then the reports, and that is our favorite part. The report. The reports just give you a lot of information. As you can see here, the performance of the car rental industry over the last 5 quarters. And you can use these reports to help you inform your decisions, which is really, really nice. And it provides a way for quantitative and qualitative data analysis, because both of all of the reports. The reports contain both. And so that's a way for students to demonstrate that skill and practice that skill and tie that skill to something applicable. Anything else you want me to show them? Oh, here's some strategies. So as you can see, strategies I've collected that I think might be good or worth exploring. Focus on the families, focus on the middle managers. I talked to you about some of those. Anything else I should show them, Christina, before I hop off and go back to our
No,
slideshow?
I think that's good. I mean, that there are a variety of strategies and there's not one right answer, but you have to be able to back it up with the data that you gleaned from the reports or that you got in interactions with other characters. So it really is a very engaging process.
All right. Can you see my
Yep, we're
PowerPoint
back
slide
on the
now?
screen now. Yeah, the slideshow.
Perfect. All right. So I'll let you go ahead and start, Christina.
Oh, okay. So what Desiree is showing now is that the Leading Edge Learning module, she showed you a couple of demonstrations. They really do cover a variety of interactions and types of media for students. So she showed you a simulation. She also showed you the dynamic lessons that include the video, the quizzes, the activities. We're also developing micro case studies, which are, rather than having a 20-page case study that a student might focus on for a whole semester, they might be micro case studies that would be weekly assignments of application of business concepts with critical thinking questions. So it really is a mix and match method of building the type of curriculum enhancement that you need.
And these do really enhance the student experience. So we've shown you 2 modules and we've talked about a few of them. Something I just want to communicate is our modules range in sizes significantly. We have modules as small as that take, as short as 2 learner hours to 135 learner hours, and depending on the topic. And we do this so that faculty can easily incorporate modules within their courses. Sometimes faculty need something more robust within their online course, something the size of a textbook. And so we have that and we do provide that, but sometimes it's something to supplement their online content or to help with the development of a specific competency. And so in a course that develops several competencies. And so you can mix and match and slice and dice these a little bit, not slice and dice the modules themselves, but put them together in such a way that it fits your particular course.
Right. So the leading edge learning modules were designed to provide a variety of solutions, from academic leveling for maybe the students that are entering a graduate program in business when their undergraduate degree was not in business, or maybe they're like me, I'm a student in my 40s returning to college after a decade or more away. So those leveling modules do kind of give you that foundation. Or there are career readiness modules, professional development for students entering the workforce. So we're going to take a few moments to talk about some of the solutions for using the leading edge learning modules, and then we'll ask you to respond what you'd need more information about.
Absolutely. All right, so we'll start with academic leveling. So academic leveling, what often happens is the student will come into a graduate program, especially business graduate programs, without an undergraduate business degree. It's about 50% of learners who enter into graduate programs don't have a background in business. Also, those who have been out of school for some time might be a tad rusty in those foundational business skills. So Peregrine, many years ago, actually developed academic leveling to help improve retention and performance in business programs by providing students a foundation of knowledge and skills in a range of business topics. The business topics that we most commonly use for academic leveling are we have 16 of them that cover the core areas taught in most undergraduate business programs. Academic leveling also provides non-business majors or learners who may have been gone several years ago with the necessary business education to succeed in the graduate program. It's really just about helping students be successful in their programs. And actually, we recently did some analysis on 6 years worth of data, analyzing several schools. And what we found is that in the control group, where students had done an outbound assessment, that was our measure, that did not do the academic leveling. That was the control group, and students who did do academic leveling in the beginning of their graduate program. And we found that students who did do academic leveling in the beginning of their graduate program had higher scores and retained knowledge at the end of their program. So even though they're doing this at the beginning, it's having an impact throughout the entire program, which is really neat.
Mm-hmm. Academic writing is another one of the solutions that we wanted to talk to you about. Sometimes learners are limited in their knowledge of academic writing, and they might be committing plagiarism errors, or they might be submitting poor quality assignments. So we suggest that colleges use Write and Cite module to ensure that students understand the expectations for academic writing, that they're using credible sources, that they're citing them correctly, and that they adhere to the appropriate writing style for the assignment. The main purpose of this is also, to improve the students' written communication skills, but also to allow faculty to spend more time focusing on the content rather than correcting errors in papers.
Yes, thank you, Christina. I shared, I think, at the beginning of this webinar that I have worked as a faculty member, primarily teaching college English. And so when I came to Peregrine and I learned about this module, I said, do you know how much headache this would have saved me? I had students who would unknowingly plagiarize, who were returning to school after many years of being away, or just students that didn't know how to write in this, word choice and academic tone, and how to cite their sources and do proper research. And I didn't have enough hours within my classroom to discuss and share all of this with them all the time. And so sometimes it was embedded as teaching moments throughout the class. But this would have saved me and my students. It would have actually caused them less frustration trying to adapt writing for an academic setting as well.
So I guess I'll talk about this one too.
Oh,
We
yes,
talked about,
sorry.
yeah. Desiree talked about the one day she showed you the demo of you're the young airline employee, you're interacting with passengers and employees. But we suggest that perhaps a mixture of some of these experiential learning modules can be a very engaging way to get your students involved. So you could combine the one day simulation, for example, with some of our leadership development modules, and that allows the learners to kind of practice that iterative approach of gathering the information they need to develop a strategy, and then using leadership models to develop ways to communicate that to a team, or to work on change management, or basically they complement each other, those modules. So that's what we would suggest, is that if you do want to combine one with one day, we could see what goes well with that to let students practice the new skills that they're learning.
Absolutely. All right. And of course, we want students to be successful in the endeavors they choose for themselves after graduation. And once in the workplace, employees need to be able to manage their careers. So we do provide career readiness and career management modules. Also, we provide modules that help ensure that your students are developing the workplace skills they need to be successful in the workplace.
Filling curriculum gaps. This is something I've been working with a lot of colleges recently, that they come to me with a set of all college learning goals, for example. And these are not just for the one college or department, but across an institution as a whole. Well, perhaps your program isn't addressing some of those college learning goals. Maybe there's some in public speaking there, or maybe there are some in leadership, and your curriculum that you have has some gaps. Well, we do provide these modules that can be plugged in as activities to supplement, and then you also have the built-in assessment piece, which shows how you're addressing those gaps and those learning goals. And the nice thing is, these are resources that can replace expensive textbooks, and students retain access to the material throughout their program. So it really is a nice way to supplement what you're already doing.
And that was a great point, Christina, because our modules, students have access for 2 years. So it's great because they can carry that content with them for quite some time.
Yeah, I was just thinking of that in my own program. Some of the statistics courses you do early on, those would be nice to review again a year later when you're working on your research and your projects. So yeah, it is nice to be able to go back, and even if you've completed the assessment portion of it, you actually retain the material.
Absolutely. Okay, and many of the programs we work with have a leadership course, or we work with schools that have leadership programs. As we all know, leadership is important to you as higher education professionals. It's important. It's just important overall. That's how we accomplish anything we accomplish, is through great leadership. And it's vital to the success of a team, department, business unit, or organization. We're developing leaders in healthcare administration, leaders in public administration, leaders in business, and so many other fields. And so this is a really great solution that we have is leadership development. You may not know this, but Peregrine actually got its start as a leadership development company about 17 years ago. And so utilizing our expertise in leadership development, we've been able to design this content. And we, what's really neat about most of our content is it is cross-disciplinary. So it doesn't necessarily, this is leadership development solution. That doesn't mean it necessarily only belongs in a leadership program, but it could be integrated in a variety of programs.
Absolutely. That leadership isn't a title. I mean, that's really our focus here, that values-based leaders, it's everything you do in your interactions with others, and it really is cross-disciplinary. So that is a vital component of any program.
All
Desiree,
right.
oh, you still are there. I didn't hear you for a second. So I'll jump in and do the service integration bit here if you want. So if you say, I'm excited, I want to try some of these modules, I want to incorporate them into my course or my program. There are a couple of different ways we would meet with you and say, okay, which modules you need to sample, how can we integrate these into your program, and then for the actual purchase and integration, we can sell bookstore codes through your university's bookstore, which allows students who might rely on financial aid to, purchase textbooks, that type of thing. They can purchase the resources the same way. Otherwise, we can just integrate these into your learning management system, and then as students register, then we can invoice the institution at the end of the month. There's no need to prepay for a certain number. It's just as you use them. Or students can purchase these individually. There can be a credit card purchase when they self-register. So a couple of different options there, but these are all able to be integrated into your learning management system, whether you're using Canvas or Brightspace or Blackboard or any of those others. And students can have access to them directly from their course, or we can set up a school-specific microsite where the full menu of options that are available to them are they can go to that site, enter their registration code, and self-register.
Thank you, Christina. And we're often asked about the pricing of these services. Pricing is based on the number of learner hours and the annual expected quantities. So what we'll do is we'll work with you to create a solution that addresses your needs, goals, and time frame, and build a package for you and give you and price it based on that. And then we do have something we call course packs, just to let you know kind of how we price everything. It's all based on learner hours for leading edge learning. And so quantity and learner hours. So we've organized things into course pack lights, which is up to 15 learner hours, course packs up to 60, and course pack plus up to 135. I've actually had it in the past where I've been working with a school and they need these 3 modules. We price them out. It sits within the course pack, and I can actually give them a 4th module because it fits under that 60 hour, up to that 60 learner hour, and then that's kind of value added for them. Has that happened to you, Christina?
Yeah, absolutely. I was just working with someone who was looking at the 1-day simulation, and then they had some other modules that they wanted for leadership development. And if the students purchased them individually, there would be a much higher cost. But when we combined them into a 60-hour course pack, all of a sudden it was less than the cost of 2 textbooks.
Yes, and that's wonderful. All right, and just a little bit about us, if you don't know us at Peregrine yet, is we really believe we're catalysts for change. Our mission is to improve the quality of higher education and make a difference in the world by developing value-based leaders. We lead change by leveraging diversity of talented people across all kinds of disciplines, backgrounds, experience, and cultures. We really are thought partners and work with our clients to create solutions. We have accreditation experts on staff. We have a variety of people from so many different backgrounds who have the expertise and knowledge to help you make a real difference in your classroom and programs. And here is our contact information. Do we want to launch that poll?
Let's do. I just want to let people take note. If you want to write to us at that info@peregrineglobal.com, we'll get right back to you. You can always visit our website, peregrineglobal.com. There's a contact us form. Give us a call. But we really pride ourselves on a consultative approach to learning more about what you need before we suggest solutions for you. So we look forward to hearing you. And then Desiree is going to launch a poll where you can request free access to different types of solutions. So if you want to go ahead and choose one or more of those, we will send you the guest access.
And can you see the poll?
Yes. Would you like access to any of the following modules? So, any of these: academic writing, workplace communication, leadership development, academic leveling, or experiential learning. If you do check one of those, we'll get an automatic report of who wants what content, and we can send you the guest registration access.
Perfect.
And then I guess I don't see, I'm looking to see if there's any questions or chat. Um,
Cassie, do we have any questions?
No, Desiree, we don't. Not that I'm seeing.
okay. Well, then that means, Desiree, we were just perfectly clear.
Yes, yes, that is what that means.
Or maybe the people are still digesting all the information and want to get back to
I
us.
know.
But please do request information and see how we might be able to help you. Even if you just want to get in and try these from a student perspective, or if you want to meet with us and see what it looks like for an administrator, looking at the reports. If you're doing academic leveling and you want to see, how can I prove that my students are mastering this content? What do those reports look like? We'd be happy to show you.
Yes, and I see my friend is on here. I spoke to her earlier, Laura. So if you're here, I just want to say hello.
Give a little shout out.
Yes, a little shout out to one of our partner schools. So she told me earlier that she watches our webinars regularly, and so I saw her here and I wanted to say hello. And thank you to all of everyone for attending. We really appreciate you.
We do. Time is at a premium, and we appreciate you spending a little bit of it with us.
All right, have a good day. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.